Yes, it is possible to own real estate without owning a physical property. It's true.
Are you kidding me?
We all know real estate is still the best way to invest your money. I know a lot of people probably hate me for saying that, but in the end, it's better than actually investing into stocks and bonds and all that other stuff. I mean, let's face it, it is still the safest investment out there. But you don't have to actually physically buy a property to either flip it or to rent it out and become a landlord or do a short-term rental and run an Airbnb. You don't have to do that. There are some really great ways to invest your money, and you don't even have to invest a ton of money to do this, which is even better. So I'm going to share with you 5 easy ways to invest in real estate. And let me preface this by saying I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not into the whole stocks and all that thing. No, that's not my wheelhouse. I'm a real estate agent. So if you have questions, you want to learn more about this, I highly recommend you speak to your own financial advisor, even your accountant, to see which of these would be a good option for you. Let's get into it. Starting off my list at number 1, we have exchange traded funds or mutual funds. Real estate exchange traded funds, they're purchased like if you're going to put money into a mutual fund, right? You're going to call up your financial advisor, your broker, whoever, and just say, I want to invest into a real estate exchange traded fund. These real estate exchange traded funds actually hold stock in home construction companies, commercial real estate stocks, and even in some hotel chains. The biggest pro to investing into exchange traded funds is that it offers the same liquidity as if you're going to be buying a stock, right? So say you buy into an ETF one day and then 2 days later you want to turn around and sell it. So the liquidity is there. It's easy, and you don't have to put a ton of money into it. Okay, we're not looking at like tens of thousands of dollars for a down payment. You know, you can put as little as a few hundred to a few $1,000s into a real estate ETF. Now, the only drawback to this is that you do have to pay fees to whoever the broker is that's managing that fund, just like with any mutual fund, right? You got to pay the financial advisor for managing it. But to me, that's a lot cheaper than if you're laying out closing costs and all the things when you're buying a physical property. I think this is a lot cheaper. So I don't know if I would consider that so much a big negative, paying a guy to manage your funds. I don't know. Call me crazy. At number 2, we have REITs. REITs is also known as real estate investment trusts. Now, these are just like the mutual funds, the ETFs. And what a REIT is they just invest money into various real estate projects. Now, just like ETFs, the biggest pro to this, it's a fast, easy, and cheap way to diversify into real estate. So if you want to dabble into real estate, get yourself a REIT. The other benefit to REITs is that historically, REITs offer surprisingly high returns. They do. Now, they did a study over 40 years from 1979 to 2018, and the average total return of a U.S. REIT was 11.77%. That is amazing. The reason why the dividends are so great with a REIT is that by law, they're required to pay out at least 90% of the net income to the investors in the form of dividends. With that big positive comes a negative. Now, because of that 90% rule that the investors have to pay out, and then therefore you're getting a high return, that's where Uncle Sam comes in and takes a piece of that. Yeah. So you're going to have to pay taxes on those dividend returns. So just like when you do your taxes every year, this is considered income and you're going to have to pay regular taxes on it. So keep that in mind when you're going to be investing in these. But REITs, I got to tell you, this is the best way to get into real estate. They're for your everyday investors and your everyday American that's looking to invest their money somewhere. This is a fast, cheap, and easy way to get into real estate. Number 3, we have crowdfunding. Crowdfunding websites, this is a fairly new thing that has come about. The whole premise of it is that the general public will be funding a real estate project. So say you have a single $500,000 real estate deal, you could have like 60 different investors investing into that project. So what happens is when a crowdfunding site directly invests into a real estate project, they're generating a pool of funds to buy that property or buy into that project. One of the downfalls to crowdfunding sites is that they only want to work with accredited investors. Not all of them, but most will only want to work with an accredited investor. Who is an accredited investor? You have to have a net worth of $1 million or you make over $200,000 a year. However, there are some crowdfunding websites that are out there that will let pretty much anybody invest into the crowdfunding. Now, what's great about the crowdfunding websites is that it allows you to invest in multiple different properties across the country. So here's an example. There's one crowdfunding site called Ground Floor. They have a minimum investment of $10. Yeah, $10. So that means an investor could like invest into 100 different properties for only $1,000. That's kind of cool. These crowdfunding sites also offer high returns. Now there's a crowdfunding site called Fundrise. Fundrise has paid investors between 8 and 12%. It's crazy. Ground Floor has been known to deliver returns anywhere from 5 to 25%. And crowdfunding websites are not subject to that law like in a REITs where they have to turn around and return 90% of the investor's money. They can take that money and actually reinvest it into other properties. The biggest downfall to the crowdfunding sites is that the ones who are managing it can charge pretty hefty fees. All right. There's always fees involved, right? I mean, you always got to pay somebody to do all this hard work, right? I get it. Now, the other thing too is that these funds are not as easily liquid as they would be in a mutual fund or a REIT. So you got to keep that in mind as well. For example, the crowdfunding site Ground Floor, expect to keep your investment locked up for 6 to 12 months. So that is a big downfall, that you're not going to easily get your returns or get your money back as you would a mutual fund or a REIT. Number 4, we have real estate syndications. Real estate syndications, this is like, I think it's been kind of a new thing. I mean, I've just learned about this over the past couple of years. I actually know somebody who's invested in a couple of these real estate syndications, and I got to tell you, I'm kind of interested in it. I'm not going to lie. So what it is, real estate syndication is similar to crowdfunding, but you have a sponsor who finds a large real estate deal. So when we're talking, it could be an apartment complex, it could be a big commercial space, an office building, it could even be a hotel. So that operator goes out, finds that project, finds that big piece of real estate, and then turns around and gets investors to invest with him to buy that property. So for example, say if it's $1 million property, the sponsor puts up $100,000. Now he's got to go out and find other people to generate the other $900,000. So you get wind of it and say, hey, I want to throw $50,000 into that. You are now 5% owner of that property. So that's the really cool thing about this. You're actually a part ownership in a syndication. You're part ownership of that property. Unlike crowdfunding sites where you can invest in multiple properties, syndication, again, it's that one project, that one property. That's it. I would say the biggest pro to being part owner in a syndication is the tax benefits. Yeah, because you do own real estate, you can take advantage of the tax benefits. So you have the benefits of depreciation, interest deductions, and if you want to go into a 1031 exchange, you can do that as well. Now, the cons to real estate syndication are, again, like crowdfunding, and some crowdfunding sites, you have to be an accredited investor. The other downfall to this is your money is locked into one deal. Now, you could sell your interest in that property, but it's not easy to do. So keep that in mind, that once you're locked in, you are locked in, you are owning that property. Another con is that sponsor who found that property, they're going to be charging fees, right? Again, it comes down to got to pay the guy who's managing the deal, right? And managing the property. Another con is you have to do your due diligence. You could do your due diligence on this project, like extensively. Also, you have to do your due diligence on the sponsor who's running that syndication. If you're not comfortable with that person or something's not right, I don't recommend investing your money into that syndication. So really do your research on the person, see the history that they have, what are the projects they've owned, properties they've owned. Really do your homework before you make any investment into a syndication. So basically, real estate syndications are for the more experienced real estate investor. And again, you have to be an accredited investor. Again, net worth $1 million and or income of $200,000. Last on the list, now it's probably not the easiest way to invest in real estate, but it can be once you get into it and you know what you're doing. And what I'm talking about there is wholesaling. Wholesaling has become this whole big thing. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff online on social media, people selling courses about wholesaling and people get excited because they're like, oh my God, I can make a lot of money really fast. And I'm not owning the property. Hold up. Hold up. Don't get sucked into that. Okay. I will tell you, wholesaling does take a lot of knowledge, a lot of education. You really have to do your homework and understand how this whole thing works. The other thing is you have to do a lot of networking with buyers or investors. Okay. Let me get into it. This is what wholesaling is. Say you go and you find a property for a really good deal, and you say, you know what, I'm going to buy that property. I'm going to get it under contract. You're going to make an offer, seller accepts your offer, you get it under contract. You are then taking that contract and you're going to turn around to an investor and say, hey, Mr. Investor, I just found this property. It's a great deal. I got it under contract. Would you like to buy this? And then what happens is, so say you buy that property, say you got that under contract for $50,000. You then turn around and sell that to the investor for say $55,000 or $60,000. Okay. So you're basically, you're just a middleman. Okay. You're just taking that contract, turning it over to the investor, and they're going to take it from there. And then once they close, you get your money, whatever, the $5,000, $10,000. This is why people think this is like such a great way to make money, but it does require a lot of work. So once you get going and you have your systems in place, you know how to find the deals, you have your list of investors and buyers that you can turn to. Yeah, it's a good thing. But the big risk is that you do have to put an earnest money deposit down. So if you can't turn that contract around, right, and sell it to an investor, you're going to lose your earnest money deposit because you're going to obviously back out of that deal. So there is that risk there. Now, the benefit to that right now, because we have limited inventory, right? If you can go out and find, say a distressed property, or you find a deal like by owner, you go to somebody that's going to sell the house by owner, you can do that. And I think an investor would be all over that because properties are hard to come by. So this could be a good thing. Again, did I say it was a lot of work? It's a lot of work. Do your research, do your homework on this, because if you're seeing stuff out there online that wholesaling is so easy, be careful with that. Okay. Trust me on this one. So there you have it. The 5 easy ways to invest in real estate without owning any property. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to learn more about any other real estate things, I have a great playlist over here. Highly recommend you check that out. Thank you so much for joining me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.